Hello, this is Nice Work. I'm Tyler Lake.
And I'm Alex Chambers.
Alex, you're a poet. Do you ever get to use that poetry muscle while playing games?
Well, yeah, I mean, poetry's all about people's emotions, and I love playing with people's emotions.
Oh, I kind of just meant like board games.
Oh, you're talking about the game created by writer and artist Essence London that we had a chance to play recently.
Yeah.
Awkward.
The game is called Not Another Lit Mag, and it gives you the opportunity to write poetry, comics, or really whatever you want to write.
It basically gamifies the whole process of writing and publishing a literary magazine.
It does, and it's a ton of fun.
It is. As is our co-host Kate Young's interview with Carmel Curtis at the IU Library's Moving Image Archive. And since the weather's getting better, Tyler, I imagine you're finally going to take up bike polo this spring?
Well, I probably have to get some elbow pads and knee pads first, Alex.
There's always something coming up on Nice Work after this.
I'm Kate Young. This is Nice Work.
I'm Essence London. I'm a cross-genre artist who really prioritizes memory work.
Welcome to Nice Work, Essence. It's really great to have you. I'm excited to have this conversation. So you identify as a cross-genre artist. I know you work in several mediums and genres. Can you talk a little bit about your creative background and the kinds of work that you do?
I've been writing since I was an infant. No, I'm kidding. I was one of those kids who listened to the radio a lot, and I grew up in the 90s, so there was a cassette. Like, that's how I made my mixtapes and such. I would record songs off of the radio and listen back, and I would write down the lyrics because we didn't have Genius.com yet, right? That's how I spent my free time. I would pause, press play, pause, and write lines down from the songs, like transcribe the lyrics. And then after a while, I started writing my own songs. That's where like the writing began for me, writing songs and then writing poems and then writing stories. And I went to school for writing poetry first, but in my MFA program, I switched over to fiction because I wanted to and they let me. And since then, I've kind of been branching out into other genres, film and making board games, performance art, kind of. Yeah, and like I'm working on a play. So the main thing is always writing. Things always go back to writing somehow. But these other art forms have come to really enrich my creative process, yeah.
What drew you to fiction? Like, what made you want to take that leap from poetry?
Oh, that's a good question. I think that at a certain point, I got frustrated with poetry because sometimes it gets really flowery and there's kind of like this lock that's on it that makes it hard to access. And I'm like, what are you trying to say? Why do I have to fight in order to understand what you're communicating? And that was just a personal struggle that I was having with the form. And I started writing narrative poems, and I was writing this epic poem in my MFA program, and I was bringing pieces of it to workshop, and folks were like, this is narrative, and they didn't know what to do with it. So I was like, well, I guess I'll go over to the people who who work in narrative and learn how to tell a story for real. And that's like where the transition started. I love those folks, but I needed something different at that point.
Yeah. Oh, that totally makes sense. I mean, I imagine that your poetry wasn't obscure and inaccessible.
I mean, it depends. It depends. I can get that way. I remember there was this one time I wrote this poem about my uncle who was killed in 2014 on my birthday too.
Oh.
I wrote a poem grieving, and I posted it on my Facebook, and my aunt, who's only 2 years older than me, so we grew up like cousins, but she read it. And I remember her saying that she wished she could understand it. And that made me so sad. So, I mean, my mode of writing, I feel like, is quote unquote more accessible than some others, but it's like the folks that I really want to hold it close, sometimes they can't access it. And I think that that's also part of the reason why I'm like, okay, these art forms that are easier to enter into, like fiction or like film, I can tell a story that is like for me and for the people that I love, and maybe it won't be like a puzzle for them to figure out.
Yeah, that really does make sense. So you said you're working on a play. What do you want to talk about, a project that you're working on now?
The play right now is on the back burner because of the game that we'll get to at some point. And then also I have this manuscript that I'm on the third draft of editing right now that I hope to be published with a local press, Legmill Press. It's called A Guide to Rememory. And this is where I was kind of like, sometimes I can be a little obscure because it's experimental. It's got this hybrid thing going on. So there's some scripted portions, there's lineated poetry, there's essay in there, there are like how-tos in there and letters. So it's a lot going on in there, but it's about memory. It's about rememory, which is this concept from Toni Morrison's novel Beloved that's about time and place and spirit. It's like an ode to that mode of thinking and being in the world.
Can you say the title again?
A Guide to Rememory.
To Rememory. Okay. I just want to make sure I got it, that it wasn't remembering. It's rememory.
Rememory.
Well, it sounds really interesting. I can't wait to check it out. We invited Essence onto Nice Work to talk with us about a tabletop game she's developing called Yet Another Lit Mag, as in literary magazine. Can you tell me the story of how you decided to design a tabletop game?
It was 2019 because I have the notebook, and I don't know that it was like a decision. It was kind of just like this idea that hit me, and I started just writing about it and planning like how the thing would look. And there are certain projects and certain ideas that I struggle with and I fret over. And then there are other ones like this one where I get into this flow and it just all comes out at once. So I had a bunch of ideas in 2019 and I pretty much shaped the game. Back then, I even had like a visual design. That's not exactly how it looks now, but like I had a full idea for this game. It was right after my MFA program. So I graduated in 2019 and I worked at my kids' school. So I didn't have the creative outlet that I was used to having while being in an MFA program. So like when I got home, like this was the thing that was feeding that creative side for me. I ended up leaving that job and, oh goodness, I'm like telling on myself. I started a PhD program that I also did not finish. But it was the PhD, those 2 years that I spent in there were like really rough on me. So the creative stuff stopped entirely, honestly.
Wow.
But after leaving the PhD program, like something inspired me to return to the game, and it actually started to take shape outside of the notebooks. And like I got a poster board from like Kroger or something like that and cut it, and I drew out the board by hand, and I had some index cards and I cut them in half and I made the decks of cards, and my kid helped me 3D print some pawns and
cool.
And I stole like a die from a different board game that I had at home, and I really figured out the mechanisms like in the 3D with this rough draft, handmade rough draft.
Wow. So it sounds like initially it just kind of came to you almost whole cloth. Like here's the concept.
When I was in the MFA program, I was the editor of Indiana Review.
That's a literary magazine published at Indiana University. In the 3 years of her MFA program, Essence worked her way up from a reader to the editor-in-chief for the Indiana Review.
I loved it. I had a really great time editing for Indiana Review. I had some cool collaborations with other literary magazines elsewhere, some cool collaborations with organizations here in Bloomington. I got some really beautiful art on the cover of one of them. This artist I love, her name is Caroline Kent. And there were some really cool things I was able to do as editor. But right before I graduated, this thing happened that was awful. Like, I went viral in the bad way on Twitter. There was this writer who submitted an essay to IR, Indiana Review, and it had the N-word in it, right? And I had made the decision that I didn't think that the N-word belonged in Indiana Review. And I said no. And when that writer got the rejection letter from one of our editors, it specifically mentioned that the N-word was the reason why. And she was upset. And she went to social media about it, and like, it took off, and folks were pretty harsh in their judgments of, you can't censor Black folks. And it was actually really, really hard on me.
Bad. And
the fact that I love Black people and I love Black writers, and I am a Black writer. And it's really important to me. Like, I have this dream of like editing, having this beautiful editing relationship at some point. A Black writer, especially like a Southern woman. So I felt like I had really messed up. So all of that stuff was very present on my mind. So I'm sure that's part of the impetus of this game, like really dealing with what it means to be an editor and a writer and how to navigate this industry.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that brings us to the game itself, the name of it, and the concept behind it.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, for sure. So the game is called Yet Another Lit Mag, and it is called that because there are millions of them. and some of them are 100 years old, and some, just a month old. I'm sure you could Google and find a literary magazine that someone just started yesterday. So that's kind of the joke, right? And so many writers are also editors, or so many editors are also writers.
Yeah.
And there's something about the power and the independence of starting your own literary magazine. One, because you don't have to wait on somebody to say yes or worry that someone's going to say no. And whatever your taste is king, right?
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So do you want to describe the game or just kind of give us the general concept of it?
So the game, Yet Another Lit Mag, it invites writers and editors to dream up our work together and to play while doing it. So I like to say that it's like Monopoly and Pictionary, but for bookish nerds, right? And on one hand, you can play the game generatively and you can play it competitively.
Oh.
On the generative side, everybody is on the same lit mag, and the whole point is for you to create new work. As you move around the board, you'll be losing or gaining readers for your literary magazine. But that's like beside the point. The point is for you to create new work whenever you land on a specific square or pull a specific card. And then on the competitive side, everybody is their own lit mag.
Okay.
Right? Each player is their own lit mag. And the point is for you to have the most readers at the end of the game. Even though you will be writing along the way, but you want to be the lit mag that has the biggest readership by the time you get to the end of the game.
What is involved in game design, and what are the steps? Like, once you kind of know, like, ooh, I have this idea, this is how we'll do it, this is how it gets played, like, then what are the steps?
I can tell you how I did it, but but yeah, after I made the handmade like prototype is what I call it, I got some support from the On-Ramp Creative Entrepreneurs Accelerator. I got some funding from them to continue developing the game.
And is that like a city thing or a state?
State, Indiana Arts Commission.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I went off for a week for some entrepreneurial training that's focused on artists. And then I had the opportunity to apply for the funding on top of that. And that helped me get to the point that it was actually fabricated. So after making the handmade prototype, I started trying to figure out the design digitally. And I printed out the cards on like cardstock just to see what it would look like. And I decided that I wanted a different typeface. So I went back and I went to the drawing board on design. And I came up with a design that I liked. I got some support from a friend, Clay Schofield, that helped me kind of clean up the board a little bit. I have this infinity sign that I drew by hand and got some help cleaning that up. After the visual design part of it was done, I was searching for how to get the thing fabricated.
Okay.
And there are some on-demand game design companies out there. There's also the route to go and try to pitch your game to established game developers, but I don't want to do that. I'm a little do-it-yourself type of person. Yeah. I don't like to wait. I don't like people telling me no. So I just did it on my own. I found this company called Game Crafters, and I had to, click through their website and see what they actually offer because there are some limitations.
Yeah.
So I had to choose from the kind of boards, like the sizes of the boards that they have, but I slapped on my design on the template that they have. And the same thing with like the pawns. The pawns don't look exactly how I wanted them to, but they'll work for now, at least. This is a beta unit that I have, so it's still possible for it to look different. I know it's going to look different. And I may not even go back to Game Crafters in the end, but we'll see.
But it allowed you to get something that's in a box and has the pieces and has the board, and you can try it out.
Exactly. Not just me, but other people too. That's the whole point. I'm calling, again, this is the beta test or the beta unit, and I'm going to have a beta test and have people try it out. The plan is to keep my mouth closed while other people are playing it, just to see how it goes on its own without me explaining everything.
Oh, right. So see if they can follow the instructions. And yeah, that will be very interesting.
Yeah.
It does seem to me that game design really requires input from other people. And, you have to test it out on other people to develop the project. And I was just wondering what that was like for you.
Yeah. So in 2024, I was invited to be a part of this performance salon called Deep Play, Dark Play. And since play was the theme, I was like, oh, I have the perfect thing. And it was the prototype of the game. I only had like 15 minutes because I wasn't the star of the show. But I brought the game out and had some volunteers play the game. I did do a lot of explaining during that time. But it was exciting. It was exciting to watch people play, and people seemed genuinely curious about what it was, even though it was poster board and pencil. The concept, I like that people laugh. If they are like part of the in group, if they are aware of like the humor that's behind it, they immediately get the joke when they hear yet another lit mag. And I think that that's fun.
Yeah. So do you feel like it really has a target audience?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I thought about doing the Gen Con thing, but I don't know that a regular gamer would be like, oh, yeah, this is so cool. Like, no, I think it's really just going to be writers and editors.
Oh, that's great. So why don't we get into trying out the game? You have the game with you, and we also brought in the co-hosts of Nice Work, Alex Chambers.
Hello.
And Tyler Lake.
Hi.
And they are going to help us try this out. We're going to play the game. Essence brought out the game in its beta version for an unboxing, starting with a description of the box itself.
It is a square. It has this ombre situation going on that's yellow and orangish and fades out into white. And in Helvetica text,
all
caps, black, it says yet another lit bag. Should I crack it open? Or?
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
Please do.
All right.
And then inside you have some instructions.
I have instructions. We have some tablets. We have a 3-minute timer and a smaller box that has a few things inside, including pencils.
Ooh, with erasers.
Yeah. We've got a die, and we have some pawns in here. So y'all will have to choose which pawn you want.
And those are kind of translucent plexiglass that's kind of an orangish yellow.
Yeah.
Really pretty.
Yeah. The point was for it to be on theme color-wise. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have 2 decks of cards here. We've got Slush, which has on each card a single word. So end here, border there, zealot. These are some intense words. Sorry. Music. Okay, and then here's story. So with the slush cards, whenever you land on slush on the board, which I'll show you in a sec, that's when everybody has the opportunity to write. Mm-hmm. So that random word, so end, if that was the word, the card that's pulled, then everybody writes for 3 minutes about end. Or if you're stuck writing about it thematically, then you can just use it in your 3-minute piece. So that's how the slush pile works. On the other hand, you have the masthead deck. And masthead is basically the same thing as editorial board. Like the editors of the literary magazine who makes the decision who gets in and who doesn't, right? This deck tells the story of your literary magazine. Mm-hmm. So at the top of this one, it says minus 25 readers, because remember, that's part of the game. You're going to be gaining and losing readers. If you land on masthead square, you pull a masthead card. And if you were to pull this one, it says negative 25 readers. Someone online complains about the paper quality of the lit mag. So you lose some folks. Let's see. Here's another random one. Plus 100 readers. Someone dear to you passed away. You consider pausing operations to allow time to grieve. Your editorial staff come together to assure you they'll split the labor and keep the lit mag on schedule while you rest. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there are some public-facing things that happen in the masthead deck, but also some things that are just dealing with the staff and how, like, the operations of the literary magazine.
Kind of internal.
Exactly, yes. And then, of course, we'll need the board. Yet another lit mag.
Okay.
That's where the infinity comes in. And the infinity is also a joke because literary magazine production schedule is like endless, right? So on this side, this is one literary magazine production schedule, spring, summer issue. And on the other side, you have the fall, winter issue.
The infinity sign, as you said, is the track where you move the pieces around, and that fills up the whole board.
So supposed to put these cards in the loops.
Oh, cool.
Masthead over there, slush over on the other side. All right. And that's where it begins. We roll a die to get started to know how many squares we move. So starting in the center, spring, summer issue that direction.
Okay.
And by the time you reach the middle, that's when you release the pub.
Okay.
The publication. And you get started on the next round of the infinite loop, right? The fall, winter issue, and you go this way. And you continue and you go around again and again and again.
Wow, I love the time.
How does the game end?
The game ends when you say it ends. So you can stop whenever you get to the end of a production cycle.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Or you can continue to play. And the way that I envision it is that people will come back with the same lit mag and play again, right? And you can just pick up where you left off if you want.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And you said it's that there's 2 modes, generative and competitive.
Right.
Which do you want to play?
Ooh.
Competitive.
Oh, those aren't two modes inside of the same game. You can play it either way.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think I got that. Generative. No. I think we should do competitive. I think that'll, I don't know, have a little more, get us invested.
In competitive mode, we each have our own lit mag, and so we had to name them. Essence already knew her name, Yellow Lit Mag. I chose Work. Alex went with Lost Pencil, and Tyler's was called Novice Retort.
That means someone who doesn't know what they're doing still deciding to speak up to something. They have no idea what they're talking about. They've got something to say about it.
I love that. So we've got our lit mags and we've got our pawns. All right, so I've got 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're starting off writing right off the bat, guys. I got a slush card. All right, so I'm going to pull this card and I'm going to flip the timer and we're going to write.
Okay.
Based on the word that I pull.
Okay.
Okay?
It's going to be really good radio.
Space. It's going to be really good radio.
We wrote quietly for 3 minutes, responding to the word space.
Since I'm the one who pulled that, I'm the editor of this round, right? I pulled that card, and I'm the person who says yes or no on which which of these pieces get into my lit mag.
Here's what we came up with in 3 minutes. Alex read first.
Space. It wasn't just that she needed more. It was that the kitchen sink was impossible to clean. She'd scrubbed it, baking soda'd it, gone as far as steel wool, and once, out of mounting frustration, took a metal spatula to it. It had scratches, but still wasn't clean. It was time to call in Jerome, but she refused. She couldn't listen to another story about his...
Is that when I said pencils down?
That's when you said pencils down.
Tyler was next.
So there's a place out there, a real place somewhere in the depths of space. It has a name, probably named after a scientist or the like. And this place, it's the space junkyard, a point in the void that collectively the spacefaring nations have decided to use to park indefinitely the most astonishing tools of human ingenuity. Science indistinguishable from magic, out in the void.
Yeah. You developed quite a bit in 3 minutes.
Serious world building there.
Yeah.
Poetic.
And then it was my turn. Space is primary, the original sensation at birth, the space between mother and infant, from the womb out, now, the world, the room, her arms, gloved hands, air sucked in, the distance, the space between me and you, and all that surrounds us.
Beautiful.
Jeez.
Thanks, everybody, for sharing. I would like to publish all of these works. Hand them over.
I thought you were then going to say, but I can't.
Form rejection, everybody.
We received so many wonderful submissions.
And it was highly competitive this time.
It was a terribly difficult decision.
Exactly.
We rolled the die a few more times and moved our pawns around the loop. On my turn, I landed on masthead and drew a card from the masthead stack.
Oh, minus 50 readers for Work Lit Mag. You realize an entire poem was omitted from the issue in the final stage of proofing. Inserting it is a great cost and a delayed production. That's tragic.
The game continues in this vein, adding and subtracting readers for the competing lit mags, keeping a tally, and pausing for writing sessions. In the interest of time, we had to cut our round short. Essence, can I ask you, what do you hope players will get out of the game?
There's something on the writer side of things, so you can leave with rough drafts of things. There may be something in here that feels salvageable that you can go home and revise and make into something that you actually submit to a literary magazine, perhaps. And then on the editor side of things, these situations that are mentioned in the masthead deck of things, you're put in the seat of making the decisions or figuring out what feels like the best thing to do. How do you push your literary magazine if you really do decide to be an editor? Or maybe there's grace that you give to an editor because of the perspective of being put in that seat. I really do think that the literary community can be a bit uptight and like very serious about, like, I mean, it's a career. Like, if you make it one, it's a career, and I totally understand that. But the joy and the playfulness that brings us to the page when we're young, I think that it would be really great to bring that back, even if we are professionals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the work this game is doing in the world.
Challenging people
Helping
to
us.
play.
Well, this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much, Essence, for giving us this opportunity.
It was fun.
I want to play more.
Yeah, I do too. I really just don't want to work the rest of the day. I just want to play this game.
Thanks for having me, y'all.
That was writer and cross-genre artist Essence London. Find links to her work on our website, ipm.org/nicework. There's more nice work coming up. This is Nice Work. I'm Kate Young. People of a certain age might recognize this sound. For me, it brings back memories of grade school classrooms, lights out, window shades drawn, the teacher often struggling with the equipment, kids murmuring and getting restless in anticipation of the film we're about to watch. We were excited, but mostly just because it was a break from regular class time. The film may or may not be interesting. It was almost always something educational. I remember one about all the sea creatures you might find in tide pools. We watched that one ahead of a field trip to the beach. The sound is a projector running 16mm film, and the informational films like the ones we watched in school are the kind of thing you might find in the IU Library's Moving Image Archive, also known as Illumia.
My name is Carmel Curtis. I am currently the director of the Indiana University Library's Moving Image Archive.
The Moving Image Archive houses a unique collection of films.
We've lately been calling it materials of purpose and practice. So by that I mean materials that were created to serve a specific educational purpose, like lessons on ant colonies or race relations, or practice, experimental films, amateur works, student works, science experiments. We have films that are like under a microscope of amoebas that might have been used for study. We have a lot of television commercials. We have the Clio Awards, which are like the Oscars for commercials.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of home movies. The collection prioritizes works that aren't necessarily profitable. They're not Hollywood commercially accessible films for the most part. They're films that were in public library collections that were being thrown away. They're home movies in people's attics where the person died and the family members didn't know what to do. Videotapes that were shown in classrooms. Things that, don't make money.
For many years, the IU Audiovisual Center produced and distributed a lot of these educational films. But once digital media took over, the center closed.
The materials stayed here. They weren't thrown away. They were actually kept in an abandoned bowling alley. The founding director of the archive, Rachel Stolze, tells these stories about how, like, the windows were cracked and there were birds that got in and were crapping on the film cans.
Now the collection is safely stored at IU's Ruth Lilly Auxiliary Library facility. And some of it has been digitized.
The archive since its formation has grown substantially. The collection is now something like over 130,000 items. And we think somewhere between like 25 and 30% of the collection has been digitized. We've had various digitization efforts over the years. There was a mass digitization project at IU, the MDPI, the Media Digitization Preservation Initiative, that enabled a ton of media to be digitized. And Illumia was always engaged in digitization efforts. But digitization is only like one piece of the preservation pie. It's often the thing that's like funded in grants. But the work that goes into preparing the materials to be digitized and then cataloging, describing, making accessible, the like digital preservation management is like an important, necessary part of the process that's often not what's funded in these projects. Copyright research.
Right. Okay. So that, I mean, you might have seen me kind of sigh and lean back in my chair because when I think about just my own personal archive,
exactly.
when I think about just managing the files and images and things that I have to deal with, it's just like, it's overwhelming. I don't have a good system. I don't have a good process for that. And so just this thinking about all that you said, the preparation of the materials and then the actual cataloging and making sure that they're properly named and can be found again and all that.
Exactly, yeah. The digital landscape of preservation is, of course, newer than the landscape of the archiving and preservation of physical analog materials. And because it's newer, it's this unknown that is exponentially increasing. Yeah, the dark abyss.
Archives tend to be tucked away, out of sight. You might not even know that Illumia exists. So Carmel came up with a program to bring this quirky collection to light.
You probably haven't seen this before. It's a series that we started 4 years ago. I wanted an excuse to dive deeper into the collections and find things that were weird or social justice oriented and share them with people, like in a physical space together in a room. I started just compiling lists of films that I was interested in and trying to put them together around themes that sometimes were really clear and obvious, like home, and sometimes were more abstract, like moving down, moving up. That was not exactly a concrete theme, but a gesture that I thought translated across multiple pieces.
Yeah.
For 4 years, we'd been doing this series. It's always an hour or less, typically during the academic semester, once a month, in the Illumia screening room. And the projectionist, Jamie Thomas, who's fantastic, has projected. We've shown pretty much everything on 16 millimeter, and she's projected all of this on film. And we think we project more 16 millimeter than anywhere in the state of Indiana. This year, though you probably haven't seen this before, series is we've invited guest curators to come in.
Cool.
So it's not only my voice and my perspective and my time and labor and research. And we're paying people to come into the collections to do in-depth research and curate a program that's of interest to them.
Wow.
So we had our first guest curator, Molly Lamb, who did a program on animation that was really great in January. We took February off because there's a lot of screenings and events going on in celebration of Black History Month, and we didn't really want to take away from that. But then in March, the guest curator is Essence London. In April, the guest curator is Dominic Rivers. And in May, the guest curator is Joan Hawkins and the Bloomington Writers Guild.
Oh.
So a really awesome lineup of people. I can't wait to see what they program.
Great. Do you know what Essence London is planning to do?
Essence's theme will be home movies. So she's putting together a program that's centered around home movies, which is something that she is personally interested in. Yeah, all of the programs, if you probably haven't seen this before, are just ways that people can curate or interact with the collection are often really personal. So it's cool to see this personal inspiration or motivation or interest take some kind of public shape.
In early 2025, the Grunwald Gallery in the IU Fine Arts Building hosted a version of You Probably Haven't Seen This Before as an exhibit.
I just looked at the 3 years at the time of films that we've shown, something close to 100 films that we've shown, and pulled together examples that I think represent the series as a whole. But for the exhibit, it was also important for me to not only highlight the films, but the process of archiving and of research. So we also set up a film inspection bench so you could see some of the physical equipment that's required to view and inspect and repair physical 16 millimeter film. We also, in this exhibit, tried to highlight the equipment that's central to the original viewing of 16 millimeter film. So in the center room of the Grunwald, we set up a 16 millimeter projector that was running on loop. It's just like the sound and the physical presence of it, I think, is a really different viewing experience than watching something digitally.
One night, the gallery had an event that included a camera-less filmmaking workshop.
We set up strips of clear blank film and had a bunch of art supplies so people could draw on and manipulate the film, stickers, and then we spliced it together and projected it. And it's a different experience when you can pull the curtain back a bit and not only see what the process is like, but do it yourself.
That was Illumia director Carmel Curtis. The next screening of the series, you probably haven't seen this before, is March 26th at 5:30, the IU Library's Moving Image Archive on the ground floor of Wells Library. We have links on our website, ipm.org/nicework. I'm Kate Young. More nice work coming up.
So, Tyler, you live over near Building Trades Park, right? That's how you found out about this next story.
Yeah, I can sometimes hear what's going on down there. It's literally sort of just down the alley from me, and it's true that voices carry.
So you heard this thing before you saw it.
I did. And what I heard sounded like people playing 3 different sports at once. There was the kind of chatter you would hear on a basketball court. I'm open, over here, great pass, that kind of stuff. And then you would hear bike tires, squeaking and sliding. And then the last thing was this high-pitched sort of smacking sound. It was like somebody hitting a wiffle ball with one of those hollow plastic bats for kids.
So weird. So what did you think it was?
I could not make heads or tails of it, but I was intrigued. I wanted to know.
So you went and checked it out right away?
Well, I actually got busy with other stuff and totally forgot about it for a bit.
Super intrigued.
Yeah, very actually, but also easily distracted. But I did manage to get down there, and I'd never heard of bike polo, which is what it was. But once you see it, you see these people riding around on a court with these long, skinny mallets in one hand. And it's funny how there's no question what you're looking at. It's people on bikes playing polo. It pretty much has to be bike polo.
3, 2, 1, go!
Does it actually matter how something gets started?
It actually started with, I do this because of my friends. And it started with Scott over there. Scott saw something on social media. I think it was Reddit. He saw an example of a rotor guard.
Which is sort of a horseshoe-like piece of metal. It's meant to keep the brakes from getting roughed up.
And it looked really cool. Someone had custom fabricated it and was like, well, what's that? And maybe Peeler or John said, that's bike polo. And Scott was like, let's try it out.
That's Vinny Byer. Scott is Scott Coffin. Vinny, Scott, Peeler, and John all volunteer at the Bloomington Bike Project. That's where Bloomington Bike Polo was born.
I bought some poplar dowels and some PVC pipe and some screws and some bolts. There's some nuts and some bolts, and put together some very crappy mallets.
The game's pretty simple. 4 people on each team. At the end of each court are little kid-sized hockey goals. You try to hit a small rubber ball into your opponent's goal with a long mallet while riding a bike. It's even harder than it sounds, which is probably why everyone's so supportive. I couldn't help but notice when Vinny told me how the club started, he stopped to make a quick note.
Well, I do this because of my friends.
I think that's true of a lot of hobbies. This particular group seems more aware, or maybe just more vocal about it than most.
At least for me, it's, a way of being more face-to-face with people and share an experience, an appreciation for sport. As passionate as people are about it, it really is about having fun.
Oh, yeah!
They've been at this for several years now. Certainly seems like a bona fide little community they have here. They've traveled to tournaments, even hosted one recently. The Tenderloin Classic, they called it. They held it at an ice rink. Apparently, they're great places for bike polo, once they've thawed out.
Oh, yeah.
They come out here to this park, most of them, twice a week. They build an elaborate little border to create a court. It has dozens of pieces. They build it up and tear it down every time they play. They've made it out of wood planks connected by brackets and pins. It's very DIY. They build it all, the bikes, the goals, the court itself. It's not a turnkey hobby. It's more like building a toy out of Legos and playing with it, instead of pulling an action figure out of a box. Even after you've built it, it's not an easy sport. Riding a bike with one hand, holding a mallet with the other, trying not to run into another rider. Just touching the ball is deceptively difficult. It all feels like some kind of labor of love. Maybe that's why it's so kind. They're so kind. Kind to one another. Even kinder to newcomers. Sam Stewart's first game was like that.
The appeal for me was just how nice everybody was. A lot of sports, kind of the reason that I never joined was because it was so competitive. It was like, okay, you're playing soccer, now you gotta get a goal or we're gonna like shame you or whatever. But once I came and joined this group, it was like, hey, you touched the ball, good job. And it just really feels welcoming.
Sam will be back next week. You can come too. Anyone can. They are going to build it. It's up to you whether or not you want to come.
Love this, Tyler. Love bike polo. And you can come too, huh? Like anyone can just come?
You can show up. Chances are they will definitely have a couple of spare bicycles, a couple of spare mallets, maybe even a spare helmet. The only reason I didn't play when I was there, I wanted knee pads and elbow pads. And I feel like I should bring those. I don't feel like I should be wearing anyone else's elbow pads or knee pads.
Were they wearing knee pads and elbow pads?
Some were. You could tell some of them were just so skilled on a bike that they probably should be. But they weren't. But they were all wearing helmets. There was no question about that.
Okay. You said in the story that they build the bikes too.
Yeah, a lot of the folks there are in the sort of the orbit of the bike project, which if you've ever been down there...
The Bloomington Bike Project.
The Bloomington Bike Project, yeah. If you need help with your bike, you can go there, you can get help for free, you can learn how to work on your bike. And so it doesn't surprise me in the least bit that these guys, these folks, it is mostly guys, I'm going to be honest, that these guys came from that space because they do make a lot of the things themselves. They assemble the bikes themselves. They made the mallets themselves. And I think like all of that is absolutely a byproduct of being in this environment where doing it yourself is expected.
Yeah.
I've never really thought about many sports that have a building component to it.
Like where you actually make the equipment.
Where you have to make the equipment. And you end up having, I think because you make the equipment, you end up having a relationship with the equipment that's different than purchasing a racket or a ball or using a basketball goal that was already there.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about that. That's amazing. Speaking of sports, when we were conceiving of Nice Work, I feel like we decided we weren't going to have any sports on here, Tyler.
Yeah, and this was one of my first pitches.
It was.
So I've been thinking about that a lot. Like, why do I distinguish this from any other sport?
Yeah.
And I do think that is part of it. The fact that they build it all themselves makes it a craft at the very least.
Right.
Well, actually, can I ask you though?
Yeah, sure.
We had all kind of agreed that there's plenty of sports coverage. That's why we're not
going
to do sports coverage. And then I came to you with this thing about a sport.
Yeah.
And you said yes.
Very quickly. I think it's not a sport that is institutionally supported. I mean, it's not just the DIY. Yeah, like you talked about the DIY thing. To me, what does seem different about bike polo, and we should credit Leo Pies, our producer, who's in the studio, for helping to point this out just now, is that one of the distinctions with something like bike polo, the more marginal the sport gets, the less likely there is to be this sense of like competition, not just in the game, but like you're developing your skills and you're trying to like professionalize maybe, or you're really trying to like count your stats and all that stuff. With bike polo, it seems like, and this comes through in the piece, but with bike polo, it seems like it's really about getting together with friends.
It does. It's the profit motive is non-existent.
Yeah.
And if there's anything that makes it arts and culture, it's that there's not much money to be made in it.
I think that ultimately is the criteria. You're not going to make money off of this.
No.
And therefore, it's a good subject for Nice Work.
I think we're probably going to keep doing stories about things that you can't make a lot of money on.
There's more stuff you can't make money on our next episode.
I'm Tyler Lake.
And I'm Alex Chambers, and this is Nice Work.
Nice Work is a production of WFIU, WTIU, and Indiana Public Media. You can find us at ipm.org.
This episode was produced and edited by Tyler Lake. We get production help from Danny William, Holly Wilkerson, Carl Templeton, Eddie Stewart, Leo Pies, Jillian Blackburn, and Jonah Ballard.
Our theme music was composed and performed by Alan Davis. Additional music from Universal Production Music. The executive producer is Eric Bolstridge. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Nice work, Tyler.
Nice work, Alex.